Why energy planning is being pulled forward in the project lifecycle. Traditional project development followed a linear sequence. Market demand justified investment. A site was selected, design advanced, energy procurement followed once scope and timing were largely set. That sequence assumed energy could be secured within predictable windows. Today, that assumption no longer holds. Interconnection studies are revealing constraints that extend well beyond standard development timelines. Infrastructure upgrades that once aligned with project schedules are now introducing multi-year uncertainty. As a result, organizations are encountering energy risk after major commitments are made, when flexibility is limited and costs escalate. In the US, the median time from interconnection request to commercial operation now exceeds 4 years, with some regions reporting timelines of 5 to 7 years for projects requiring transmission upgrades. To avoid that outcome, companies are pulling energy analysis forward. Energy has become an early feasibility gate. In practice, energy planning is now determining whether projects advance past initial screening. Early-stage reviews increasingly include questions that once appeared much later. Is firm capacity available within the required timeframe? What is the probability of delay after interconnection studies are complete? How exposed is the project to curtailment, congestion, or peak pricing? What infrastructure upgrades are likely, and who bears the risk? Across major U.S. grid regions, more than 70% of interconnection requests submitted over the past 5 years remain unbuilt or withdrawn, often due to cost, timing, or upgrade uncertainty. When answers are uncertain, projects are paused, rescoped, or phased, sometimes before land is secured or capital is fully allocated. Energy has shifted from a constraint to a gatekeeping variable. Why timing has overtaken cost. In many cases, power pricing is not the limiting factor. Timing is. Projects with competitive electricity rates are still being delayed because grid upgrades, permitting, or interconnection approvals cannot be aligned with commercial schedules. For developments tied to customer contracts, regulatory deadlines, or manufacturing ramp-ups, months of delay can erase expected returns. This has forced a reframing inside organizations. Energy is no longer evaluated primarily as an operating cost. It is evaluated as a schedule risk with direct implications for revenue timing and capital efficiency. For capital-intensive developments, a 6 to 12-month delay can materially erode returns, often reducing net present value by high single-digit percentages once financing and delayed revenue are accounted for. Large, concentrated loads are driving the shift. The change is most visible in sectors introducing large, concentrated demand. Data centers, advanced manufacturing facilities, logistics hubs, and electrified industrial sites can add 50 to 100 megawatts of load at a single location, often within short timeframes. These projects leave little room for sequencing errors. A single hyperscale campus can require hundreds of megawatts of power, load levels comparable to tens of thousands of homes, concentrated at a single location and dependent on limited infrastructure. Discovering energy constraints late can force redesigns, staggered commissioning, or temporary capacity caps. To avoid those outcomes, developers are embedding energy feasibility earlier, sometimes alongside initial site diligence, so that power availability informs scope from the outset. What this changes inside organizations. Pulling energy planning forward alters internal governance. Energy teams are involved earlier in project discussions. Capital approval becomes more conditional, tied to energy milestones rather than design completion alone. In some cases, projects are sequenced around power delivery schedules, not market demand. This shift also changes accountability. Energy uncertainty that once surfaced as an operational issue is now treated as a strategic risk, requiring executive visibility earlier in the process. Why this shift is likely to persist. This is not a temporary response to a single market cycle or weather event. It reflects a structural mismatch between the pace of demand growth and the speed at which energy infrastructure can be expanded. As long as electricity demand continues to rise faster than grid capacity and interconnection processes can adapt, organizations will continue to front-load energy risk. Waiting until later stages has become incompatible with execution certainty. Energy planning is being pulled forward because the cost of discovering constraints late has become too high. For executives, the implication is clear. project risk profiles are changing. You've been listening to Sustainability Soundbites by Environment and Energy Leader. For partnership opportunities, please reach out to our team.